I'm Steve Hare. I'd like to welcome you to a special edition today of In Focus on NCW Life. My in-studio guest, Sergeant Michael Buyas, with the U.S. Army, formerly a U.S. Army Ranger, as I understand.
Cool.
Wounded in Iraq, and now facing the challenges of everyday life as a civilian. And he's here to share his story. And as a little preface to our little chat here, it's kind of an interesting reunion for me here with Michael, because when he returned to the Wenatchee area after being wounded in Iraq back in 2004, I had the privilege of meeting him at Pangbourne Airport when he was offloaded the plane there in his wheelchair, and greeted him there at the airport as he was being returned from Walter Reed Medical Center and his treatment. Again, Michael is a double amputee, having lost both of his legs in Iraq and also suffered a traumatic brain injury as well. But if there's one thing that I know about Michael, is his perseverance and his unwillingness to give up and to keep fighting through numerous challenges throughout your adult life, and that's why we've invited you to join us here. Another thing that you're working on, of course, is a new career, possibly, as I understand, clothing design, possibly for disabled vets, and we'll learn a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But first of all, thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I remember that first day on the tarmac in Pangbourne Airport. It was overwhelming. It was great. I had, just suffered some injuries, to say the least. And what I remember mainly is looking down from the airplane and seeing a sea of motorcyclists waiting for me, and just the biggest group I've ever seen.
The Harley
supporting
group.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that was great. The Harley Owners Group. Yeah.
That was a great. It was a great occasion, I know, for you, and to see so much support. But let's talk about the service that you provided, and your time in Iraq, and how this whole thing started. Because I know that in looking over your little background here, really, it all started with 9/11, I suppose. You had joined the Army prior to 9/11, but really your story starts with 9/11.
Pretty much. Yeah. I was working here in the area at a foundry in Eniat, Washington, and I had gotten laid off, and this was 1998.
98.
I got laid off. So I'm looking for work, and I'm thinking I want to go to college. Well, a recruiter calls for my ex-wife's brother, and I said, well, no, he's not here right now, and I was about to hang up, and he said, well, wait a minute, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to go to school. I don't really have much going on. And he said, oh, we offer school. He was really convincing. Fast forward a few months, I went in the delayed entry program, and September 1999, I joined the military. And mainly for school. Well, I get in there, and it really fit with a fighting spirit. So I liked it. I was planning on, getting out and going to school, and then 9/11 hit. And that...
Everything changed.
It really put a different perspective on it for me.
So you were looking at the military for a possible career advancement, probably.
Right.
Wasn't really expecting much combat duty.
No, there wasn't really anything going on. They had been through Desert Storm and kicked some major butt out there, and in 1 month the tankers had went through and took care of business. That was what was going on when I started. They were recruiting 4 tankers at that time because of their success, and I ended up becoming a tanker. So fast forward to 9/11, and I'm sitting inside a tank, and we just happened to be training out in Fort Lewis, where I was stationed. And I'm sitting in the tank, and you have a CVC on your head, Combat Vehicle Crewman helmet. Mm-hmm. And it has some gel cups and speakers, and then you can talk to the rest of the vehicle that way, or the rest of the company or battalion, whatever it may be. And so we're sitting there, we're on a rest period at the time, and I'm trying to get some sleep because we've been moving for a week, I think, about. And you get tired, and I'm the driver, and you know, it's a 60-ton vehicle, and we're driving at night. You got this little tiny screen you're looking at. It's pretty stressful, so I'm trying to get some sleep. My loader, he comes over the radio, and he says, "Buyas, someone just hit one of the Twin Towers and in New York." And I was like, I got back to him. I'm like, "No, that didn't happen." And that was it for then. About 5 or 10 minutes later, he comes back and says, "Buyas," because he's listening to the radio. I'm not listening to the radio. And he says, "Buyas, someone hit the other tower with the airplane, and they both crashed to the ground." And I'm like, "You're crazy. How could that happen? Think of what you're saying, what happened." Mm-hmm. And it just was so far from,
reality
from reality, yeah. And so I'm trying to get some sleep for about 10 more minutes, and then my first line comes over and says, "Hey, Buyas, we got a formation." So we get into formation, and this is a really weird story. I don't believe in psychic stuff or but there's some kind of connection in this world. Well, so we're in formation. The CO now is telling us, and he says, the Twin Towers in New York were just hit by a terrorist attack. And immediately all I can explain it is something in my mind's eye goes whoop to this FBI 10 Most Wanted poster that I had seen 2 years prior when I was coming on to post in 1999 when I got my duty station. I see this poster, and it says Osama bin Laden, and that was one of the posters that was on the board. And it, instead of being white like it was red in my head. And
so you had a premonition that
we're supposed to be silent in the formation. CO's talking, you don't say anything, and my mouth could not hold it, and I said, "It was Osama bin Laden." And he said, without reprimand or anything, he said, "We don't know that yet." But I knew at that moment, one, that it was Osama bin Laden, and two, that we were going to war.
Well, talk to us about when you were sent to Iraq and the circumstances surrounding the injury.
So, October 2004, we had already gotten our orders. That's when we deployed to Iraq. And we were the 2nd Stryker Brigade. I had been a tanker, but they took the tankers and mixed them with the light infantry. So you got heavy armor, light infantry, and they called us a medium brigade so that we could be on the Strykers, which is a medium armored vehicle, to carry troops around. And it just makes us more mobile that way. So we get deployed as the 2nd Brigade, and it's supposed to be for 1 year, taking over for the 1st Stryker Brigade that went there. We get there, and I remember thinking how crazy this world is. Whereas 1 minute I'm in America where, it's beautiful, we're free, things work like they're supposed to. And then I'm, the next minute I'm in Iraq, and it's a complete 180 from what I'm used to in America. And
You're in a third world country.
Yeah, I can't even believe how different it is and how good we have it where we are right now.
Yeah. So the injury or the wound that you sustained, it was from An improvised explosive device.
Yes.
And can you tell us about those circumstances and how that happened?
Okay. December 23rd, 2004.
Where were you at the time?
We were south of Mosul or FOB Merez, Forward Operating Base Merez, in a little town called Hamam al-Alil, where we just came from Fallujah to take over a school building had been taken over, which is where the Iraqi army had been stationed at the time. That was their base. Insurgents had taken it over, and we got the call from helping the Marines south in Fallujah right after they were done to move north to Hamam al-Alil, take that back. And then in turn, we embedded the Iraqi soldiers that had lost it to teach them how to be more like us and keep it for themselves next time. Well, that was, I think, early November, and one of the things that I always remember is in November,
Around Thanksgiving.
it was Thanksgiving. We're in our own FOB, and we're eating MREs and stuff, and we're lucky enough sometimes to get hot meals from the big base up north.
And you were looking forward to having a Thanksgiving dinner?
I was looking forward to it. One of the things I love about America is we get to celebrate and give thanks on Thanksgiving and have turkey. It's something I did every year, something I was looking forward to, and the rest of the guys there. Well, the turkey truck is coming to bring us turkey, and we all know, or we're salivating because we're eating MREs and they get old, and boom, it gets blown up. We hear it over the radio. They kicked out the window, and everybody made it, yet there was shrapnel in the turkey and all the fixings.
Just destroyed the turkey?
Destroyed it.
Oh, my.
Yet I couldn't take that for an answer. So I went where we were storing it, and I had to grab at least one piece of turkey and ate the turkey. So,
Good for you.
right. Fast forward a little bit. December 19th, 2004, I was lucky enough to go up to the chow hall in FOB Merez. Once in a while you get an opportunity to be there. And what you plan on doing is making your way to the chow hall, because it's a huge chow hall, and it has almost everything you can imagine. They feed you really well when you're in Iraq, which is pretty nice, you know. But we don't get the opportunity every day to go there. So we take our opportunity, we go, and my driver and I, we have to go pick up the CO again and the company commander. And so we're kind of hurrying. We get our food, and we take some with us. Well, I had seen the Iraqi soldiers that were embedded with us. There must have been 50 to 60 of them. And I also saw my XO, which is second command for the company. And so we leave, and I'm putting on my CVC, the Combat Crewman Vehicle helmet, and I hear just a bunch of traffic, and I look back over my shoulder, and there was just a large plume of smoke. And it's surreal how big this plume of smoke was. I didn't hear anything, but now all of a sudden there's oncoming emergency vehicles, and everybody's coming to there, and I'm hearing it over the radio.
So this was at the chow hall?
This was at the chow hall, December 19th. And a man came in with a trench coat on, and underneath his trench coat was an improvised explosive device. He walked directly up to the embedded Iraqi soldiers. And like I said, there was at least 50 or 60 of them. They traveled in the group together. Not one of them survived that explosion.
So then, within just a couple of very short time between the Thanksgiving explosion when the turkey truck blew up and then the chow hall explosion. You experienced two situations there, two incidents.
Right.
Now,
right.
take us fast forward to December 23rd. How did that happen?
December 23rd, Christmas Eve. Everybody's getting their own time from the our forward operating base down south of Missoula, and they get to go up, spend a whole day, in shifts or whatever to relax, talk to their families for Christmas, give them phone calls and stuff. Well, it's my turn, December 23rd. I go there, at least I got a shower, and I take my shower, and they got these little boxes that you can stay in. They're air conditioned. It's pretty nice, and you're always hot there. I just get to starting to relax, and I get a knock on the door. Hey, Buyas, we need you to help us at this kerosene plant. So fast forward a bit, we moved down to the kerosene plant, and there had been some movement in there, and they needed me to pull guard on their 180, and because they felt vulnerable. So we had dropped off the CO, went to that position, and there was a choke point of boulders, so it was hard to get in there, either for us, but mainly to keep people out, and we're going through. Ironically, I'm singing over the speaker, and it's just me and my driver and my RTO, but bugging the crap out of them. I'm singing, and I was singing Stairway to Heaven, and I'm looking over at the boulders, and kaboom. That's when the IED was detonated, and they said it was huge. From the people who had witnessed it, later told me it was just the biggest one they'd ever seen.
Wow.
And it lifted our vehicle, I think it's a 19-ton vehicle, lifted it up off the ground like 20 feet, blew off all the wheels and tires and the engine out of the vehicle. If you can imagine, it's hard to put in perspective, but that's a huge explosion.
Yeah.
And then it had left a hole about this big directly under where I was standing. Well, I don't remember between the explosion and when I was sitting up, but it's close to time, I have spotty memories of it. And I'm sitting up, and I'm trying to pull off my flak vest because I don't feel good. And my driver finds me, and that's about what I remember. It took him a while.
Next thing you know, that
I'm bad.
you're in the medevac, right?
I'm pretty beat up, and I'm saying, ooh, I don't feel good, and he lays me back down, gets me tourniqueted up, everybody's working on me. I fast forward a bit, they lift me up into the medevac, and that's when I just felt everything, like the shock had worn off, and I'm just like, "Roar!" And so now it's time to fight, I'm not doing so swell. I had already looked down, and this leg was twisted this way, and I could see my boot, but it wasn't sitting right. I had looked over here, and there was nothing really over here except for shreds and nothing. And so now I'm feeling everything. And I get up in there, and I can't even hardly breathe now. And my the medic, he goes to give me the morphine, because they got little morphine things. It's got like a little pack and a needle coming out of it. He pulls it apart, and he goes to stab me with it, and he feels something squirting him in his face. Well, the needle, he had it backwards, and he pushed it through his thumb.
Oh, goodness.
And was squirting himself in the face. And at that time, I had been through Ranger School, and one of the jokes was, guy's been blown up, and he's hurting, and the CO's like, oh, you're gonna make it, it's gonna be fine. And he says, at least I'm not in Ranger School. So to kind of lighten the mood, and I'm hurting, for some reason my mind just wouldn't let me not make light of the things, and I said, "Pink, at least I'm not in Ranger School." And lightened it up. He pulled it out of his thumb. He turned it around and finally got me with it. And then I don't know if it was the morphine or just everything. I don't remember anything after that.
Next thing you wake up at Walter Reed, I suppose, huh?
I woke up in Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C.
Well, it's been a long and arduous recovery for you, and
Yes.
I think that there's been a lot of fight, and you continue to fight. So you've were finally able to go to college, as I understand,
Yep.
and you became an auto mechanic,
Yes.
and that's what you're doing now.
Yes. Kind of hit your points. Keep on fighting has been a theme for me since Ranger School because it's hard, you know, you got to keep on fighting. And since before then, when I was younger, I'm at Walter Reed, then it takes me a long time to heal up. I want to go back to school, but by about 2010, I'm feeling better, and I realize, hey, it's probably time I can go back to school now. Might as well. I'm not going to be a soldier any longer. And I actually, 2010, I started school. I did 1 year, and that summer, June 2011, I think, I had a pulmonary embolism. That was my second pulmonary embolism. So that brought me down. I really couldn't breathe at that time, and I was in the intensive care for 10 days. And hey, I just kept on fighting, made it through that. Came back 2014, graduated from my first degree at Wenatchee Valley College. This is the Knight's shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't feel like that was enough, so then 2017, I started the automotive technology program for another degree, and summer of 2018, I got remarried. June 2019, I graduated from the automotive technology. June 2019, I finally got a job.
And then you injured your back.
Then a few months later, I hurt my back. That's pretty recent. And then I hurt my leg. I don't know what happened, something with the prosthetics, but that got me down. For about a month, I couldn't walk. Had to use a wheelchair for a while again. And I'm used to not having to use a wheelchair except for at night. And I just, keep on fighting. So I made it through that. I'm back on my feet again.
Are you getting help?
I'm getting help, yes, for sure. For sure. I get really, really good help.
Good
actually.
support.
Good support. The VA is very, very helpful and really great.
I know that if it was up to Michael Buyas, you don't want any help. You want to be able to be independent and do what you want to do. And as I understand it, you are now embarking on possibly a new career. And that's how I, again, became reacquainted with you after seeing your little post on GoFundMe, a crowd fundraising site where now you're trying to start up a little business. Can you tell us
Yes.
more about that?
Well, after hurting my back, making it through that, fought through that. After hurting my leg, fought through that. And I actually have a hernia now. I'm gonna
Oh,
have
my.
surgery at the end of the month for that.
Add insult to injury.
Hey, I'll fight through that too. You gotta keep on fighting. But, so, I did some soul searching, and I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't be so hard on my body. And I figured, okay, now it's time to start a new direction.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly sure what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna start a clothing company, and that's kind of my new direction I'm going in right now.
You're probably seeking some help there on how to start a business of that type. And through the GoFundMe site, you're trying to raise some funds for some startup seed money, certainly,
Right.
and possibly some expertise, some help in
Yeah.
in establishing a business.
You know, researching it, it's not all money. You know, there's a lot of, you know, you got to surround yourself with good people and people who know what they're doing. Lawyers, there's trademarking, there's a lot of things that go into it. While I get taken care of pretty well, I don't have the kind of money to support
Right.
all those things right this minute. So, you know, I need lawyers, people with expertise. I just started the GoFundMe because all these things cost money.
That's the
You know.
purpose of our interview today. As a matter of fact, we're trying to solicit some support from the community out there. If you're a business person or someone who has some expertise in how to start up a company, I would strongly urge you to get a hold of Michael Buyas here. He's obviously a very dedicated person who is really committed to carrying on an independent lifestyle and has some great ideas, I think, for a new business. So how can we get in touch with you?
You know, I hadn't thought of that. The GoFundMe.
Yep.
I have Facebook, so through Messenger, and yeah, if they message me on Messenger, then I can get back to them and we can get in touch better.
And
that way.
and if some lucky person gets involved with you here and you're able to make a profit, I know that you'd like to donate some of that money back.
Oh yeah, that's my number one goal right there. Is I like the Wounded Warrior Project. They took me in way back when I got first blown up. Taught me how to scuba dive after I got blown up. That was a great experience, and not only teaching you how to scuba dive, but we were taken to just south of Jamaica to actually go scuba diving also.
Good.
So that was great, and so they're going to be one of my top priorities. And then other veterans programs, I've been supported really well. I've had great support from locally, Vets for Vets. They're at the Harley Center in Wenatchee there, and they're a great organization.
Mark Harley and Ron Bruno and
Right.
and Dwayne Broadus, that
And
group.
they're part of the Harley Owners Group too. That's a separate entity, but that was a great thing also. And I would like to someday, if this ever gets off the ground, give back to just like they do.
Well, we very much appreciate your taking time to come and talk to us about your experience, and we certainly wish you the best of luck going forward, and we definitely want to thank you for your service and sacrifice for our country. But Michael Buyas, good luck to you going forward.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of In Focus on NCW Life. I'm Steve Hare.